Iharn was not a planet meant for human lungs. The air stung like acid, the sky pulsed with greenish static, and magnetic bursts rolled across the soil in unpredictable waves, short-circuiting even the most hardened systems. Communications were dead, visuals flickered, coordinates twisted in and out of sync. But the swarm didn't need tech to find you. The Hornets moved in patterns no AI could decode, biological fractals in the shape of death. Wings sharp as obsidian glass, abdomens pulsing with bioplasmic venom. And eyes, hundreds of them, reflecting not just light but asterisk intention. They were intelligent. Lyra Avon knew that now. She crouched in what used to be a control chamber, half buried beneath collapsed synth metal beams and shattered bioconduits. The emergency lights pulsed blood red, casting rhythmic shadows over the broken bodies of her team. Sarge had sealed the inner blast door before the Hornets breached. His last words, "Don't waste it," still echoed louder than the buzzing beyond the fractured wall. She hadn't answered him. There had been no time. Now there was nothing left but time. And the sound, the swarm was inside. She could hear the scraping of clawed limbs across metal. Hear the hiss of acid dripping from mandibles. The air vibrated, not from her breath, but from the resonance of them. The hive was speaking, singing, summoning, and her own heartbeat, too fast, too fragile, was off-key. Lyra's hand trembled as she reached for the device wrapped around her wrist, the subharmonic regulator. A prototype, half illegal, half myth. It hadn't been meant for this. It was calibrated for crop colonies, to steer native pollinators away from bioyields. Not for this, not for a swarm that learned, not for something listening back. She could run, except the tunnel behind her was already filled with them. She could scream, but they fed on vibration. She could stay silent. But silence was never neutral in a world built on frequencies. So instead, she began to hum ***. It was barely audible at first. Just a whisper, a vibration through clenched teeth and broken air. Her fingers adjusted the dial on her regulator, fine-tuning the subsonic pitch. She closed her eyes, listened inward, then downward. The hum shifted into tone, tone into breath, and the breath into song. A lullaby, one she hadn't sung since she was a child. One that had no lyrics, only resonance. Her mother used to call it the memory chord. A frequency that wasn't written into any scale, but found only by instinct, by survival. And for a moment, the Hornets stopped. Not all of them. Just the ones closest. They paused mid-creep, heads tilting toward her like hounds hearing a name they hadn't known they'd forgotten. She kept singing. The tone deepened, layered into a descending fifth. A counterharmonic, something old, not human, but something in her remembered it. A thread buried in bone and marrow. The swarm shifted. A dozen of them broke formation and began to move, not toward her, but around her. Encircling, not attacking, listening. Lyra's voice cracked, but she didn't stop. The pain in her ribs was rising. The pressure in her lungs was unbearable. But the music, the frequency, was the only shield she had. And then one hornet, larger than the rest, stepped forward. Its wings folded down like curtains. Its abdomen pulsed with bioluminescence, flashing in rhythm with the tones of her song. It knelt. The others followed. The air grew impossibly still. And with a mechanical hiss, a sealed door, coated in resin and never touched by human hands, opened behind them. Light bled out, not harsh, not artificial. It was golden, warm, organic. Alive, she had no idea what lay beyond that threshold. But her swarm now had parted, inviting her in. And for the first time since she landed on this wretched planet, Lyra Avon did not feel hunted. She felt summoned, long before the swarm bowed before her. Lyra Avon had learned the price of being born, with a voice that didn't belong in any register known to mankind. She was raised not in a home, but in an echo chamber. Not with lullabies, but with tuning forks. The facility had no name, just a designation. Resonant Research Unit Theta 9 ***. Buried beneath the crust of Europa's third moon. Funded in silence, erased from every official archive. It housed children like her, biological anomalies born with hypersensitivity to frequency, rhythm, and tonal modulation. They weren't called children, they were interfaces. Born to bridge the gap between humans and what humans couldn't control, the hive intelligences of alien biomes. Lyra was 6 when she first made a drone weep. The scientists had been ecstatic. The hive caste of Morexians, an insectoid race previously deemed unresponsive to negotiation, had lowered their weapons. The moment she sang a low harmonic triad, they didn't understand the words, of course. There were no words, just vibration asterisk, but something inside her matched something inside them. Like keys that weren't supposed to fit, but turned anyway. And so they kept using her, again and again, until the notes bled into her bones and the screams of failure echoed. Longer than any applause, because sometimes it didn't work. Sometimes the song fractured, sometimes the drones tore themselves apart. And sometimes they turned on the children. By the time Lyra was 14, she had begun to understand what the other interfaces didn't, or chose not to. They were not saving lives. They were refining control, fine-tuning domination. Their voices weren't bridges, they were shackles disguised in melody. She waited for the right moment, and when it came, during a systems blackout caused by a failed experiment in subsonic inversion, she slit her own throat, not deep enough to die. Just enough to destroy what they valued most, her voice. The scar ran from her collarbone to her chin, barely visible now under the synthetic graft. But back then, it was her escape route. The scientists couldn't track her without her signature resonance. She disappeared into the outer colonies, no longer a weapon. Just a fugitive with a broken throat and too many ghosts. Years later, a black market biotech surgeon gave her a new voice. Not a human one, something modulated, integrated, tuned not to speak but to feel frequencies and shape them. A subdermal regulator implanted in her larynx allowed her to sing again, but only in the tones no human could hear. She called it singing between the cracks. She never told anyone where she came from. Never revealed what she had been trained to do. She lived quietly. Took contracts in mining colonies, agricultural systems, any place that needed sonic modulation to balance biosystems. Her reputation was that of a recluse, effective but distant. She was calm, quiet. She listened more than she spoke. But inside her was a sea of asterisk unanswered sound asterisk. Lyra never stopped wondering, was she ever truly human? Or had she been designed too early, too deeply into something else? She didn't look for purpose. She didn't want redemption, but the guilt, it curled beneath her skin like feedback in an open mic. So when the Iharn expedition offered a high-risk assignment involving resonance mapping in an uncharted biosphere, she didn't hesitate, she didn't ask questions, she volunteered. They didn't know her past, they only saw her precision with harmonics. Her silence, her skill. They assigned her to the acoustic division, a group of scientists and combat engineers, responsible for mapping the frequency-reactive flora and fauna on Iharn. But the mission changed the moment she heard asterisk the signal asterisk asterisk. It came 2 days before departure. She was calibrating the harmonic sweeps on her equipment when her earpiece flared with static. White noise at first, Nothing strange in a lab full of overlapping modulations. But then beneath the hiss a melody emerged, faint, broken, disjointed, yet familiar asterisk. It was a lullaby. Not just any lullaby. Her asterisk lullaby, the one her mother, before she vanished into the facility, used to hum against her neck when she cried in the dark. A melody never recorded, never shared, never stored. Just breath and tone and comfort, forgotten, impossible. And yet there it was. But what chilled her most wasn't the memory. It was the asterisk modulation of the pitch asterisk, the microtonal shifts in the harmonic layers. They weren't human, not even close. They were mirroring, echoing her mother's voice through something not born with lungs. Something that had learned to sing asterisk through her asterisk. She tried to trace the origin. Failed. The signal was embedded in the environmental hum of Iharn's atmosphere, like a asterisk planet whispering asterisk through its magnetic storms. She didn't tell the team she couldn't. What would she say? That song doesn't belong here because it belongs to my dead mother. She kept quiet. But the unease it grew. Because somewhere in that planetary hum, beneath the acid winds and fractal clouds, something was listening. Something remembered her, not her name, not her face, but her asterisk frequency asterisk, and it was calling her back. The descent into Iharn's third biosphere tier was supposed to be routine, if anything on this planet could be called that. The deeper the team went, the thicker the air became, not with toxins but with asterisk patterned sound asterisk. Frequencies hummed in the walls, not mechanical, not random. Organic. The acoustic dampeners on their suits began picking up anomalies less than 15 meters below entry point gamma 3. Lyra's subharmonic regulator pulsed against her skin, vibrating in dissonance like it was being asterisk watched asterisk. She didn't speak, but her muscles tensed. They passed through a tunnel of resin-coated mineral that shimmered under the field lamps like glass frozen mid-scream. Biostructures clung to the ceiling, honeycomb-like but denser. Denser than anything she'd seen on Earth or Tau colonies. Then the readings changed. The sensor tech Vale, sharp, quick, stopped walking and stared at his wrist display. Captain, Soren, the team lead, turned. Talk to me. There's something in the hive walls, Vale muttered. Low-frequency pulses, and they're syncing with Lyra's biometrics. All heads turned toward her. Lyra's throat tightened. She glanced at her own regulator. The waveform on its microdisplay was no longer steady. The frequency pattern was fluctuating, not in random spikes, but in asterisk mirror waves asterisk. The hive was asterisk matching asterisk her. She knew what that meant before the system confirmed it. Her earpiece crackled with a warning. Alert, swarm-class hive intelligence detected. Non-hostile, awaiting neural engagement. The words might have been calm, clinical. But Lyra's blood froze. Neural engagement. This wasn't a hive reacting to presence. It was a hive asterisk calling a name asterisk. Hers. Soren stiffened. Everyone fall back. Now, formation theta, no weapons unless I say so. The team began to retreat, weapons raised but fingers off triggers. The resin walls pulsed faintly with bioluminescence. Heat rose in slow waves, carrying with it a soft chittering, so low it wasn't sound but sensation. Lyra tried to follow, tried to step back. She couldn't. Her feet wouldn't move. Her boots were free. There was no physical restraint. But her limbs felt held, like gravity had shifted around her. Or like something inside her was tethered to the hive. She staggered forward one step, two. The wall ahead shimmered and opened asterisk. A slit peeled back like a breathing wound, revealing a corridor laced with moving shadows. She didn't want to go in, she couldn't look away. Lyra, Vale shouted. Move, we're losing your signal, but she didn't hear him. Not really. Her mind was being pulled inward, no, downward. As if a second consciousness was unfolding inside her skull, dragging up sensations she hadn't felt in years. The sting of electrodes. The echo of commands shouted through soundproof glass. The chorus of children forced to harmonize until the swarm bent to will. She was back in the facility, back in that chamber. Back when they made her sing to make others die. No. Not again. Her breath hitched. She clenched her fists, willing the memories away, but the hive pressed harder. Not attacking, just touching, probing, sampling. She could feel them now. Not the Hornets, those came later, but the mind behind them. The swarm-class intelligence. Vast, distributed, not a single brain but a chorus. Curious, cold, yet expectant, it had found her frequency. Now it wanted her voice. Her knees trembled, the pull grew stronger. The regulator on her wrist blinked red, awaiting activation. One touch, and she could initiate full-spectrum contact. Her voice, her real voice, filtered through the device, would open the link. Would complete the bridge, but once opened, she couldn't control what came through. They might obey, or they might consume everything. Soren's voice cut through the haze, rough and urgent. Lyra, fall back, that's an order, she blinked, swallowed. Looked down at her wrist, and hesitated. The thoughts in her head weren't her own. Not entirely. They came in pulses like sonar. Images, emotions, buried things she didn't know she'd kept. Her mother's hands, the first time she saw a drone cry, the silence of the escape tunnel. And beneath it all the song, that lullaby not in her voice. In theirs, they were singing it back to her. It wasn't an attack. It was recognition, but recognition wasn't trust. Not yet. Her hand hovered over the regulator's dial. She could speak to them. She could warn them. She could command them. But did she want to? The voices in her past screamed one truth. Control wasn't connection. And every time she had used her gift, someone bled. She looked back down the tunnel. At her team, at Soren shouting, at Vale lifting his gun just in case. One wrong note, one wrong frequency, and the swarm wouldn't kneel, they'd rise. So what would it be, connection or silence? Her fingers twitched. The regulator flared to life. The hive waited, and Lyra stood on the edge of the note, unsure whether to sing or walk away. Lyra's finger hovered over the dial. The others were yelling again, something about retreat, about perimeter defenses, about the swarm converging from every direction, but their voices were distant, swallowed by the pulse in her ears. The regulator strapped to her wrist blinked a deep amber. The system had already run a compatibility scan. The hive had already acknowledged her signature. It wasn't asking, it was waiting. She exhaled long and slow. Then turned the dial past the legal threshold, past the failsafes. Into **red range***. A warning flashed. Prohibited frequency detected. Class V harmonic tau accord violation. Confirm override. She pressed down. The device chirped once, and the air changed. It wasn't a sound not to human ears. It was a pressure, a humming beneath thought, a vibration that rippled through stone, bone, and memory. The kind of note you didn't hear, you remembered. She had used it only once before, a long time ago. In a sealed chamber beneath Europa, when they'd ordered her to break the will of a newborn hive. She had sung it then, and the drones had torn themselves apart in agony, unable to hold their minds together. That was the note of domination, a frequency forged for control, for war, for fear. Now it echoed through the corridors of Iharn, like a ghost resurrected. The swarm froze mid-motion. Dozens, no, hundreds halted their approach. Wings folded, mandibles clicked in strange rhythm. Their collective hum ceased like someone, had ripped the breath from the room. And then they turned their heads toward her, all at once. One heartbeat, two, the walls pulsed, and Lyra's mind opened. Not by choice, not by tech, by *force***. The swarm responded not with aggression, but with something worse, reciprocity***. A surge of raw data flooded her brain, not through the regulator, not through words or symbols, through *** neural resonance ***. They didn't speak, they projected images, sensations, echoes, and all of them were hers. She saw her own childhood from the outside, watched herself 6 years old, screaming behind a soundproof glass wall while her mother was dragged away. She saw herself at 8, forced to sing to a room of silken egg sacs, unaware that the pitch she used would cause them to rupture. She saw the cold silver needles, the harmonics piped into her bloodstream. The day they first let her wear a dress, not as reward, but because it looked more human when she stood on stage. And worse, she felt their understanding ***. The swarm wasn't just viewing her past. They were absorbing it, learning from it, sorting the trauma by frequency, classifying her pain by waveforms, not with pity, not with cruelty. With clarity ***. Lyra staggered backward, hands to her temples, gasping. Her knees hit the resin floor. She wasn't just connected. She was bare ***. The link was deepening, spiraling down neural corridors she didn't even know existed. If it went further, she wouldn't just communicate ***. She would be *** rewritten ***. Cut it, she gasped, slapping the regulator. Cut the dam, too late. From the far corridor, a shriek. Vale, she turned. He'd been hit. Some kind of acidic discharge had caught his leg. He was dragging himself back, face pale, eyes wide with pain. Help, he coughed. They're flanking north shaft. The swarm was circling now, not toward Lyra but around the others. They hadn't attacked, yet, but their formation was unmistakable. Enclosure, tactic, hurting, her link had activated them. And unless she issued a command, their instincts would fill the void. Soren was barking orders. The team fell into defensive posture. Weapons raised, no clear line of retreat. They couldn't risk shooting. One wrong move and the swarm might launch in reflex. Lyra's mind raced. She had opened the gate. Now the hive was demanding direction. Control or chaos ***. And Vale was going to die if she hesitated. Lyra, Soren yelled, do something. The hive was still broadcasting. Still feeling her. They had accepted her as node, not master. She could strike them down with another frequency, a kill code embedded in her regulator. She could save Vale, save the team, end the swarm. But if she did, she would become what the facility made her to be. Again, the last time she sang for destruction, 100 drones collapsed into a sea of shattered limbs and alien screams. The memory still pulsed in her throat like a swallowed knife. Her lips trembled. She looked at Vale writhing, looked at the Hornets. The hovering silence, the tension before a scream. Then she sang, but not the kill tone, a new one lower. Gentler, not meant to conquer, meant to calm ***. A note forged not from training but memory. The lullaby, the memory chord her mother once hummed. The one she hadn't sung since the day they took her away. The sound flowed through her regulator, refracted across the corridor, amplified by the hive walls. The Hornets froze. One by one they turned again toward her, then toward each other. The formation loosened, the circle broke. The hum returned not in menace but in echo. The hive sang it back ***, not perfectly, roughly. Like a child learning how to speak, Vale gasped, still alive. The acid halted its spread. The swarm moved past him. And ahead the corridor walls rippled. A section peeled away, not broken, but opened. The path beyond glowed with faint golden light, a new passage. One not mapped, one meant for her. The swarm stepped aside. No weapons, no roars, just waiting. Soren stared at her, stunned. "What the hell did you just do?" Lyra didn't answer. Because she didn't know, not fully. But in that moment one truth stood clear: they had listened. Not because she ordered, but because she sang without fear. And the swarm had chosen to follow the one voice that didn't ask them to die. The light that guided them deeper into the hive was not artificial, nor natural. It pulsed like a heartbeat, golden, warm, alive. Lyra walked in silence, the swarm parting wordlessly before her. Her team followed, some limping, some cautious, but none questioning any more. Not after what they'd seen. They descended into the core. The walls became translucent. Patterns flowed across them, living circuits pulsing with bioelectric charge. The air grew heavy with static. Time felt slower. The hive wasn't just showing them a path, it was leading them to something. And at the center, a chamber unlike anything recorded in expedition archives. Vast, spherical, the floor shimmered with organic crystal. Suspended in the middle was a structure like a heart, though it didn't beat. It hovered, rotating slowly, made of interlaced sinew and bioluminescent strands. Lyra didn't need to ask what it was. She knew: the hive core. A living node, a biological AI anchor, meant not only to guide the swarm but to fuse with a cognitive host. It was offering itself to her. The swarm had chosen. Soren stepped forward, voice hushed. "Is that what I think it is?" Lyra didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the core. Its resonance matched her perfectly. Not just in frequency, asterisk in memory. Every tone it emitted echoed a piece of her life. Her pain, her rebellion. It didn't want a queen. It wanted a asterisk mirror asterisk. Her comlink flared to life for the first time in hours. Static cleared. A voice crackled through, gravelly, cold, and all too familiar. "Specialist Avon, this is command." Her stomach dropped. General Havoc, the man who oversaw the Black Archives. The man who asterisk knew what she was, and had let her disappear when it was convenient. "I see you finally revealed your full capabilities," he continued. "We have partial telemetry, and we've detected swarm pattern suppression tied directly to your neural regulator." She said nothing. He continued, "You've established an interface with the hive core. You are now in possession of a planet-class bioweapon. That makes you our asset or our liability." There it was. The language of control, of ownership. "You want me to command them," she said quietly, barely audible to the others. "No, I want you to asterisk conclude asterisk this." His tone sharpened. "You will use the swarm to pacify the remaining hostile regions. Then transfer the hive command signature to our receivers. If you comply, your actions will be recognized, and your past sealed. If you resist, you'll be marked rogue and we will neutralize you, along with the asset." She stared at the core. The offer it made wasn't vocal. It didn't plead, it didn't promise, it waited. In her periphery, Vale whispered, "You could do it. Save us, stop the war." Lyra didn't move. The truth was simple. If she synchronized with the core, she could end every conflict on this planet in a breath. Take command of the swarm. Use it as a weapon of terrifying precision. No human casualties, clean conquest. And then what? Every future war would look to asterisk her asterisk. Not as a person, but as a prototype. If she fused with the core, she would no longer asterisk be Lyra Avon. She would become the thing they built her to be. She looked at her hands. The same hands that had once trembled before a broken drone. The same hands that once bled when she ripped the wires from her throat just to be free. No, not again. She tapped the regulator's hidden switch, one sequence she had encoded years ago. A melody that wasn't meant to control or connect. It was meant to disconnect a cancellation frequency, the unbinding song. Her voice emerged low, rich, not with power but with sorrow. A descending scale, no rhythm, just release asterisk. The hive core responded immediately. Its glow dimmed, the swarm stiffened, wings twitching. For a moment the entire chamber trembled, unsure whether to collapse or evolve. Havoc's voice returned, sharp with alarm. "What are you doing? What is that frequency?" Lyra didn't answer. She sang louder. The tone shifted downward, slipping through octaves the human ear couldn't follow. She wasn't attacking the swarm, she wasn't killing it. She was unbinding it, cutting every tether, severing every neural expectation laid by human code. The hive mind flickered, then fractured not in chaos. In freedom each hornet twitched once, then stopped sinking. They turned their heads, not toward Lyra but toward one another. They began singing, not in her tones but their own. She felt the link dissolve. Her mind was her own again. And the hive core, it pulsed once, slowly, then faded to transparency. The swarm was no longer hers, nor anyone's. Soren looked stunned. "You let them go," Lyra turned, voice steady. "They were never ours to hold." Havoc screamed through the calm. "You destroyed years of work. That was a Tier 1 command system. You've just given autonomy to a hostile species. Do you understand what you've done?" "Yes," she whispered. "I gave them the one thing you never gave me." Then she ripped the regulator from her wrist. Static filled the line, and then silence. The swarm didn't vanish. They simply dispersed, into the tunnels, into the world. Not retreating, living, no longer weapons, no longer soldiers. Just themselves Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted. Not from effort, but from choice. She had chosen not to rule. Not to dominate. Not to become the legacy they designed for her. The others stood in silence. No one cheered, no one saluted. But no one fired either. There was nothing left to fight. Only the sound of wings in the dark, and the faint memory of a song that had never belonged to any one species. The swarm disappeared as quietly as it had come. No dramatic exodus. No chaos. No final display of power. They simply dissolved into the deep forests of Iharn, into the labyrinthine tangle of bioluminescent vines, acidic undergrowth, and magnetic fog that pulsed with memories. Gone from satellite detection, gone from radar, gone from command. But not forgotten. Lyra stood alone in the echo chamber where the hive core had once glowed. The room felt hollow now, still humming but no longer sentient. The swarm had taken nothing, yet left her with something far heavier than any wound. Absence, not silence. Silence could be comforting. This was the kind of absence that followed you, that waited in the corners of each breath and asked, "What have you done?" Soren and the remaining crew extracted themselves the next morning. The transport shuttle arrived 3 days later, long after command had ceased trying to contact her. She didn't board it, not because she couldn't, because she wouldn't. There were no arrests, no shackles, just a sealed document delivered by drone, a notice of citizenship revocation marked with a single phrase, unauthorized disruption of Class V resonance protocols. Irreparable breach of hive asset management. Specialist Lyra Avon is hereby declared persona non grata in all Union core zones. In the same breath, a footnote was added to the Union's Central Acoustic Archive, catalogued under non-replicable events Iharn Hive Incident. Human interface rejected synchronization. Chose deactivation of command vector. Entry alias, the one who refused the crown. She never responded. She didn't need to. The name, as names often do, evolved. Morphing through whispers, picked up by passing traders. spread by officers who had served beside her. They called her the one who sang in the dark. Not as an insult, as a memory. Vale recovered, so did the others. Each carried scars, mental, physical, but none ever forgot what they witnessed. Lyra had done what no one expected, not just surviving the swarm, but refusing to lead it. Refusing the power that could have made her a god on that planet. Some called it madness, others a miracle, but those who stood in the chamber with her, they understood. Power not taken was sometimes the greatest proof of being human. Back on Earth, the reaction was swift. The Union's Department of Acoustic Regulation issued an emergency suspension of all bioresonance weaponization programs. Dozens of labs were decommissioned. Protocols shredded. The concept of using harmonic implants to command living species was ruled ethically untenable. Behind closed doors, no one mentioned Lyra's name. But her signature remained, encoded in the cancellation frequency that now served as the failsafe against any future attempt at synchronization. She had become a ghost in the machine. A caution, a boundary, a whisper of conscience in a world addicted to control. And then she vanished. There were rumors, of course, that she had found a way to live among the swarm, that she had crossed into the deeper biomes and allowed the planet to rewrite her DNA, turning her into something not quite human anymore. Others said she'd gone into the outer systems, living off-grid with defectors and silent monks. But no one saw her again, no one except one botanist. 8 months after the incident, a low-level ecological researcher discovered a signal buried in the soil near the abandoned hive site, not a message, not a warning. A asterisk recording asterisk, just 7 seconds of audio, untraceable origin. One speaker, Lyra's voice, no music, no modulation. Just her voice, clear, soft, certain. Command is not peace. Connection without domination is. The file auto-deleted after playback. But the researcher wrote it down, and the words spread. Not through headlines, through people, first in underground symposia, then in protest banners outside the Directorate of Xenobiology, then on badges, on datapads, in encoded graffiti along orbital ports, and finally, printed into the new Ethical Charter of the United Planetary Council, Article 1. 1. Sentient autonomy. Asterisk no species, swarm, system, or voice shall be bound by force of sound. She had been erased from official memory, but her frequency remained. It lived in the tones scientists now refused to exploit. In the silence where weapons used to be tested, in the hesitations of those who once acted without question. Lyra Avon was gone, but in the absence she left behind, something rare took root. Not control, not fear, not victory, but asterisk restraint. And in that restraint, peace. 10 years later, no one called it the Iharn incident anymore. It had become something else, a turning point, a question still echoing through the cold halls of science and the quiet corners of philosophy, at the Intergalactic Ethics Summit on Orialis Prime, where leaders and researchers from over 200 systems gathered to draft the new Union principles of autonomous life. A gray-haired xenoacoustic scholar stood before the council and began his address with an unexpected phrase. She taught us. If you can sing to the monsters, and they stop roaring, maybe they were never monsters. There was a long silence in the chamber, not out of disagreement, but reverence, because even now, after a decade of scientific debate, political cover-ups, and cultural mythology, no one could fully explain what happened in the deep biospheres of Iharn. The data from the hive core remained fragmentary, distorted by the resonance rupture Lyra had triggered. The swarm was never seen again in organized formation. The world of Iharn was declared a neutral biome zone, protected from future exploitation. And Lyra Avon had never reappeared. No sightings, no transmissions. Just scattered rumors and one file, a decrypted log entry, hidden in the backend of a defunct resonance calibration AI. Discovered not by accident, but through deliberate pattern tracing by a student who refused to believe that someone like her had simply vanished. It was a journal entry. No date, no preamble, just her voice. Being human was never about controlling the swarm. It was about choosing, when not asterisk, to silence their voice. I used to think that my power made me dangerous, that my ability to speak into another species, mind, turned me into a weapon. But I was wrong. Power didn't make me dangerous. Obedience did. The moment I followed orders that weren't mine to believe, I became something hollow. They taught me to command. I had to teach myself when to stop. The word spread quickly across academic circles, then slipped into military training modules, civilian ethics courses, and AI conversational frameworks, not as law but as caution. In the years that followed, new resonance technologies were developed, not to suppress or manipulate, but to observe, to listen. Not once in that decade was another synchronization protocol attempted. Not because it was impossible, but because one woman had shown the cost of possibility without responsibility. And still, debates raged. Some argued she had wasted a weapon that could have saved thousands. That if she'd taken control of the swarm, Earth-aligned colonies might have prevented future wars. Others called her a traitor, a fugitive who turned her back on her species. But those who had heard her voice, really heard it, not in command but in song, remembered something else. They remembered choice. In a universe of programmed instincts and automated conquest, Lyra Avon had done the one thing no one else could. She chose not to win. Not because she was weak, but because she saw the cost of victory built on domination. And in her silence, she left a message louder than any war cry. Now, in training simulations across the core worlds, new cadets are asked a simple question before being granted access to advanced AI, biological tech, or resonance tools. If the hive listens to you, will you speak or will you shout? Most pause. Some answer, none forget, and etched into the base of the monument on Iharn's neutral zone, a simple obsidian pillar, surrounded by wild flora and long-abandoned structures, is a final quote. Not enshrined by government or council, but etched by the survivors of Expedition Theta 3. Her words, her echo. If you're human, don't ask how many creatures you can command. Ask if, when the hive listens, you still choose to speak and not shout. Because in the end, it wasn't about taming the swarm. It wasn't even about peace. It was about remembrance of pain, of connection, of the fragile strength it takes to stand at the center of power and say no.